Hello everybody, I am Chris Williams and I'm back with another review. This time we're reviewing Age of X-Men, Prisoner X, Issue 3. We'll start off with the cover. The cover, made by Patch Ziegler and Brian Reber, is in my opinion a kind of a boring cover. I mean, all it has is Beast on the ground, growling like an animal, while two guards with tasers, or cattle prods, get ready to tase him. Yes, he looks mean, but I just find it rather boring. It could be better. Maybe it's just because Beast is in his more animal, buffed up form that they gave him after he reverted from his lion form. And I wish he looked a bit better than that. I wish he was in his original blue form. The writer is, of course, Vita Ayala, and the artist German Peralta. And as you can see, the first page is once again Marvel pulling out all the stops by giving us no first page at all, and just giving us, once again, a stupid reprint of the book's logo and whoever worked on this comic book. We start off with Dani Moonstar as she begins to remember who and what put her, or who really put her in this prison. She remembers X-Man, Nate Gray. She even has a few thoughts that she loved him? Well, I'm not quite sure. The book doesn't really say that or not. It just says something about love. And she remembers Nate Gray's eye glowing, and maybe that's how she got here. Here we have Gabby, Honey Badger, at the lunch line. She begins to remember things that are real and things that are clearly not. Because she begins to remember her past with her sister Laura, X-23. But along with that, she also begins to remember her being a thief with the clone of her, with that other clone that died in X-23 issue 10. Apparently, she remembers being a criminal and stealing jewels and stuff. Sort of she's basically a poor man's Catwoman then. But she also remembers what really happened, where she was having dinner with her sister, breakfast with her sister Laura. But this is the thing that happens more often in this particular book. People are remembering real events as well as more absurd things that happened. Then they aren't sure what. And in fact, it seems every time they have one of these hallucinations, they tend to become angrier and tend to get attack anyone close by. Here, Gabby becomes angry because she thinks the blue-haired girl with the monster arm is a telepath and that she's somehow trying to mess with her mind. And she gets really, really close to killing this poor girl. In fact, she comes so close, she even risks popping her claws, knowing that her healing factor has been taken away, causing her to start bleeding out. But she doesn't care. But even as she's so angry, she begins to remember things as well. She remembers the Cuckoos, and apparently she'd been on friendly terms with them? I'm not quite sure about that. But she is beginning to remember things. But she's also remembering things that haven't happened to her. And all this does is make her closer and closer to losing herself in a berserker rage. I gotta tell you, the art here by German Peralta is better than I think in the last comic, but not by much. Here, Beast has taken her to the med ward so that they can treat her cuts. But as he's doing that, he begins to remember something. Seeing a doctor treating a patient, it begins to kick something around in his head. and he begins to remember his past as an X-Man, particularly where he was a doctor working on the legacy virus as well as trying to help mutants who were hurt. But he also remembers an absurd thing. He remembers being a ripoff of King Kong, climbing the Empire State Building. And this is what happened with Gabby. He's remembering something that really happened to him, but then he's also remembering something that couldn't possibly have happened to him. And it seems to be driving him into a berserker rage. This happens a lot in this book. They remember something, but then they remember something that couldn't possibly happen, and they begin being filled with a sense of rage and anger. He tells this to Dina Moonstar when she comes up behind him to look if Gabby was all right, and he tells her this. He particularly says he begins to remember things when I'm around you, Danny, but I don't know why. Later on, Polaris, Laura Dane, also is beginning to have these same fits. She is remembering things that do happen, and she's also remembering things that haven't happened. Here she remembers fighting with the X-Men and loving Havoc, but also fighting against the X-Men in this world that they're currently in, which couldn't possibly have happened. And she remembers fighting with Magneto, but then she does something really absurd. With a superhuman effort, she manages to rip her arms out of the straitjacket, get the keys that Danny Moonstar had given her, and unlock her neural inhibitor, allowing her powers back. But that's the thing. Laura Dane does not have superhuman strength anymore. She used to before when she lost her magnetic powers, then she gained super strength. Apparently she might still have some of that strength left. Here, with the collar off, her powers fully return. And she says, "Finally, I am free!" She says while throwing metal and guards to and fro. Those guys look like they're really scared of her, and she looks suitably powerful. This is maybe the best artwork in the comic book. The German Parada, his artwork is good. Vita Ayala's writing, though, isn't actually all that great. Because later on, Forge decides to call someone as he sees Laura Dane destroying the cafeteria. He calls someone with a red phone. And then he puts his hand to his forehead after he's done. Apparently he's done something that will solve the problem of the rebellion that Diana Moonstar is trying to cause. Diana Moonstar remembers X-Man again. She remembers him smiling, and she screams in anger. It's something about something happening to her, but she can't remember. And she screams, trying to block out the laughter in her head. A ha 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 that keeps going on and on like a piston drill. But it turns out, after she stops screaming, everyone in the cafeteria is looking at her. Laura Dane is back to normal. Everyone is back to normal. In fact, Laura Dane is back in her straitjacket, and she doesn't know what Diana Moonstar is talking about. Later on, we see Bishop. He's talking to someone, and he tells the guy who we can't see but can hear, "I don't know what you're planning, but what are you trying to do?" And the guy responds is, "Crazy is such an ugly word, Bishop. It doesn't matter, does it? You won't remember this tomorrow anyway." Who is it? It's Legion, Professor Xavier's son, the mutant with multiple personalities and multiple powers, one of the most powerful beings in the entire Marvel universe. And apparently he's in on this. It looks like, from what I can tell, Forge called Legion here. He's the one pulling their strings. But then again, with all the pictures of X-Man, I had thought he had called X-Man to settle this. From what I understand, Legion and X-Men are against each other. So I don't understand why Legion would be helping anyone in the authorities that X-Man is running. So maybe they are allies right now or not. I don't really know. This comic was still not all that great. It was more average, but a bit better than the last few issues. Read it if you want to, if you're following Age of X-Men, but I'm not really saying you should. If you like this review, subscribe. Make sure you're still subscribed. Hit that bell and leave a like, and leave some comments down below. And remember, keep checking back with every future video to learn more and more news about my future upcoming comic, Scumdogs. So keep checking back to learn more. I'll see you all again tomorrow.